Hello friends, my name is Marina and this is Rapunzel Fiber Arts. So today we are going to take this basket, which is stuffed full of picked dyed locks. Well, not picked, they're actually flicked locks. And the reason that I say that is because I took my flicker brush, which is actually a dog or cat pet grooming brush, which I just picked up at a pet supply store. And I used this to flick out this end of the lock, leaving this cute little curly Q on top. And the reason that I prepped these locks like this is because the original fleece was very dirty. So this is one lock that I saved, and you can see all of that debris and hay that's all incorporated in this fleece. Like, you can see bits falling out as I'm holding it here. So I didn't want to work with that. I wanted to work with something clean and well prepped. So I did this. And the reason I left the tips of the locks intact was because I want to make a Lockspun yarn. All that means is that you use intact or semi-intact locks to make a yarn that has bits of lock hanging off of it. So like I'm gonna have all of this in a yarn and this sticking out. Like this is the yarn and this is just a little bit of texture that's in the yarn. This is one of my favorite art yarns to make. I think it's pretty easy to make because you don't have to put a ton of thought into it or learn a new method of spinning. Like core spinning, I've never really been able to get the hang of because I find that the way I hold my hands doesn't really work. But I can lock spin. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this whole big basket of locks and put them on my Lendrum spinning wheel. I have taken my big plying bobbin, so it's like a 6 to 8 ounce capacity bobbin. You can see it right here. And the reason I'm using that is because this, I'll show you. These flyer ratios, you see I can change this to different the different flyer whorls. This is the biggest one that I have outside of my e-spinner, which I prefer using a reel spinning wheel, because it gives me a little bit more control. So by speeding down the wheel, by using that biggest flyer whorl, which gives me the slowest speed of spinning in relation to how fast I'm treadling, it'll slow down what I need to do with my hands quite a bit and hopefully make the process pretty easy. I've done this before. I don't think it's going to be a problem, but you know, you never know. Sometimes fiber is trickier than you expect. I've been surprised before. So I'm going to get you set up at a better angle so you can see what I'm doing as I'm spinning. And then I'm going to get to work. So stick around and let's make some Lockspun yarn together. All right, friends. So I think earlier when I was talking about how I thought this fleece was going to spin up nice and easy, I think I might have jinxed myself because unfortunately this was not as easy of a spin as I had anticipated. The felting that was present lower down on the locks, in addition to having the VM, there was also some felting. The felting also went into the tips of the locks, and this was an issue because as I was trying to draft, I was trying to pull apart the fibers and and make it a more spinnable diameter of fiber, I was having a really hard time pulling apart those locks because of the felting. I made it work. That's kind of what you have to do when you're spinning fleece. You just kind of make it work because no fleece is perfect, and oftentimes there's going to be some kind of flaw in the fleece, whether it's cotting, which is another word for felting on the sheep's back, or there's VM, which I've talked about, or you have some kind of other issue with the fleece, which makes it difficult to work with. This is all too common. Sheep are animals, and there are lots of imperfections in their hair. So it's something that you just kind of have to work with and make do, but it was a little bit frustrating on this project. It ended up being just fine. I had a good time spinning it, and the finished product ended up really nice, but it wasn't the best spinning experience. I will say that. All right, friends. So as I'm sitting here and spinning away, I'm noticing that these locks weren't just felted towards the base, they were also felted towards the tip. It's a little bit frustrating. I don't think that this happened in the dyeing process. It's possible, but I've had fleeces from this farmer before that had matting and felting issues. So I think it was a problem with the fleece. I don't think it's something I caused with the dyeing process. But that's okay. It's requiring a little bit more work to kind of tug it apart. Because like right now I have this lock right here, which is felted, and so I'm trying to pull it apart to draft, and it's just a solid mass. So I have to kind of stop the wheel and fiddle with that for a moment. And I'm happy with the results. I mean, this is what I wanted. I've got these cute little curly cues of lock sticking out. But it's just a little bit more work than I had hoped for. Like I said before, sometimes fleeces surprise you. You think you're prepping something that's gonna spin like a dream, and it requires a little bit more work than that. And that's okay. It's a natural part of spinning. Don't be too discouraged when stuff like that happens, because it's bound to happen. But just know you're not alone if you're there right now. Fleeces are tricky, and even somebody like me who's been spinning fleeces for almost 10 years, you can still be surprised and a little disappointed. Just depends on if the fiber gods are being nice to you or not. So I'm just going to keep spinning away. I'm filling up my bobbin. And then what I do with this yarn is I leave it as a single, so I don't ply it. And so I'll just put this straight into a skein, and then it'll get washed up, and then I can send this pretty Lockspun yarn off to my shepherdess friend who I'm doing a trade with. If I hadn't mentioned in this video, this fleece is from a shepherdess that I know from the Facebook group called Spin a Pound, Get a Pound, which is what it sounds like. And so I found her on there, and we've been trading fleeces for a couple of years now, where she'll send me a fleece and I'll spin half of it for her because she doesn't know how to spin, but she likes working with Lockspun yarns like this. And I will keep half of the fleece for myself and send half of it back as spun yarn. So I'm gonna have some of this fleece left over, and I'm starting to think about what I want to do with it. I've saved the harder to process stuff as her part of the fleece. It's not lower quality or anything. It's just stuff that I don't want to work with as much. So I figured I would get it out of the way at the beginning as opposed to saving it for my half of the trade and then not having the incentive to work on it. So what I'm spinning right now is going to be sent off to my friend Lynn. And I think she'll like it. She likes most of what I send her. I don't think she's complained. She really likes my spinning. So that's nice. Yeah, I think I'll switch you back to looking at the spinning wheel so you can watch me fill up this bobbin. And then I will talk to you a little bit later. All right, friends? All right, friends, so I didn't quite finish my thought earlier when I was talking about what I planned to do with my portion of this trade. So about half of it is going to get spun up into this Lockspun yarn for my friend and the shepherdess who grew the fleece on her sheep. But half of it will be staying with me, and I've done some thinking about what I want to do with that, and I think what I'm probably going to do, if I can, because this felting that I've encountered so far in this fleece has been troublesome, but if I can, I'm going to try to comb it and then either spin it into a really durable, sturdy sock yarn or potentially into a 2-ply for lace work. I don't typically work with Lockspun yarns. This fiber would be great for a Lockspun yarn for myself as well, but I don't typically work with Lockspun yarns in my knitting projects, and I don't really weave enough to have art yarns for weaving either. But this yarn would be a great accent to any kind of accessory you would want to make. The texture is really fun and would work up into a really interesting one-of-a-kind product. If this is your type of thing, it's not quite mine. But it is beautiful, and I hope that you enjoy this video even if it's not something that you personally would work with. So here I am just skeining up that fleece, nice and quick. It doesn't take long because there's not a lot of yardage. So I will see you in a moment. All right, so here we have our finished yarn. I skeined it up and tied it off, so this is ready to be washed now. It turned out really nice. Despite the additional felting that I discovered upon trying to spin it, with a little bit of extra elbow grease, we managed to make it work. The texture of this yarn is really, really pretty. I think that the shepherdess who grew it is going to absolutely love what I made for her. And I love these colors too. The natural variation just from kettle dyeing as opposed to working from the raw natural colored sheep's wool. I think this dyeing makes it absolutely gorgeous. And I love dyeing before I spin because then I get to play with colors while I'm spinning as opposed to just having the natural grays, which are beautiful, but I don't always want to work with natural colors. Sometimes these bright colors are fun too. But anyway, that's our product of the day. We made this beautiful skein of yarn, spun it from locks we had picked in a previous video, and I think it's gorgeous. I love it. I hope you love it too. And I hope you get some crafting in. I hope that you have a fantastic day, and I will talk to you again soon.